You once told me a story about a conversation you had there. One of these, I guess, before the atmosphere changed, where you could open up with people, and you were opening up your mouth, and people were responding to you, and it was a particularly powerful conversation with one of your peers who was African American. Remember what I'm talking about?
Sure. There were conversations that were taking. It was a vital environment, whether it was music or talking about whatever. But there was an awful lot of political talk. Mm-hmm. I thought
before the separation.
Yeah, phase. I mean, in the dorm. And I'm speaking of in the dorm. Mm-hmm. Probably in the classrooms too. We got into it, but it was we were learning this or that. But in the dorm room, it was a pretty exciting place. And there were just masses of people, and they were milling around all the time. I don't know what other dorms were like, but it was a pretty interesting place. And I stepped into a conversation, and who knows what it was about, but one of my memories is that white people are always this. They always, if they were talking about that, they were generalizing, and so like I had to step up. Yeah, I'm right here. And so I would insinuate myself and open up my mouth, and in this particular instance, a man turned to me and just looked at me and said, "I witnessed my uncle being lynched." It was I can hardly remember it without, having a moment of silence. I felt like what I had to say needed to be tempered, if not quieted, if not stopped, for the moment anyway. I had to learn to listen. That's what he was telling me. We might be saying this or that, but in fact, there's more here that you're not hearing about. We're not always talking about this and this and that, but you don't understand. And if you're going to be here, you need to listen more. That's what I heard from him. I think I also think that he took a risk in revealing that to me. He didn't tell anybody else that in that particular setting. So telling a white person who wasn't able to listen very well something that intimate and personal and that awful. And this is who I am. Okay, so I may not know this and that, but I've got this experience, and you need to understand differently than you do. And I think he took a risk that I would blow it off, that I wouldn't understand something, that I wouldn't be more self-reflective over the next rest of my life. And I don't think I've stopped being self-reflective because of what he said to me. And I think I owe that to him, that he took the risk that I would just slough it aside and not understand. And it takes a lifetime to understand what his experience was and what it means to him and how it's affected him for the rest of his life. And anybody else that's experienced that kind of crime against their person, against their family, against someone they know, or knowing that I'm black and these crimes have been committed against other blacks because they are black. So there's a difference here. Mm-hmm. You can come here, you got a right to be here, you got a right to flap your mouth, but if you're going to be here, there's something else you can learn. And it's not right on the surface that you're not paying for. And he took that risk, and I've tried to spend my life being responsible for listening.
Did that, you think, in some way, was that experience when things took a turn towards the separation phase that put you outside of the conversation? Because then you were inside the conversation.
Right.
And then after that, for the rest of your time at Central, you were outside of it. But is it possible that having gone through that kind of thing in your first year there made you willing to be just listening, watching, not included? Must have been a lot of patience, apart from sort of, standing up for yourself, but to be at whatever those gatherings were and the meetings and the events where you were at best ignored and excluded, that must have taken, one would think, a lot of patience and listening, or patient listening. Unless you were just standing there the whole time thinking to yourself, wow, this is a bunch of garbage, this is crazy, this is insane.
Oh no.
That's not what you were thinking.
No. No, I was.
Because you could have been.
No, I wasn't. Clearly, no. I was. Even though I didn't agree with something, there was something to understand. I assumed. Mm-hmm. I gave everything the benefit of the doubt. I'm learning something. My presence is affecting something here, but also I've got to understand this. I've got to watch this, and it'll change tomorrow, so I'll watch again. And there probably wasn't a clear mark between integration and separation, me being
right.
accepted and me being not accepted. Mm-hmm. But I mark it as the first year was very accepting. The second year, it just changed.
Right.
To me, that's black and white. So the man telling me about his uncle's death, the way he died, was the first year. Mm-hmm. And that was my first year there. I learned a vital lesson that for me marks my experience there, and okay, I came here to learn. There's a clear lesson, something I learned.
Right.
I can talk about teachers, what I learned from them, being knowing authority figures who were trying to tell me how to be and what to do. Students who taught me. There's lots and lots of lessons, but that one stands out.
Right. And the process of standing outside and listening and attending to what was being said, which you may have not only not agreed with, but found outrageous sometimes. I don't know, I'm putting an assumption there, but some of the stuff that was said by people who were coming from more of a separation or perspective, whatever they were saying, still you found yourself able to listen and attend to it and say, okay, I have to try and understand that. That's the way you went to those events, and that's the way you were.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so, this would be a course, an appropriate place to come in and say, well, that sounds like the beginning of a theme or a disposition that through a whole art mediation experience and related experience later in life, that might have been something that continued and formed part of the core of that. The ability to, stand there, listen, attend, not be, I guess you didn't use this word, but it's like not be judgmental. And not only that, but try to understand. That's all.
Right. Be comfortable with not fully understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all stuff that comes back later on in a more intentional,
clearly,
way of practice as a transformative mediator. I'm shoving that theme in there.
Yeah,
it fits, right?
Yeah, it fits. Hey, I'm familiar with that. I didn't articulate it that way before,
right.
But now it became more and more familiar to me, not just because I was understanding it, but because it was part of what I learned years ago.